As you prepare your kids for back to school, it's important to talk about the anxieties that can also happen when you're re-entering that classroom.
Dr. Dakota and also Barbara Stanton with Prairie St. John's join us to walk us through how to talk to kids about the fears they may be feeling as they're heading back to school. To both of you, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So let's talk, as I know myself, when I went to kindergarten that first day, I mean, I was latched onto my mom's leg, and she was just like, I don't know what to do now because he's freaking out, and here's all his friends. And so what are some of the signs maybe before you're latched onto mom's leg that you should be looking for as kids go back to school?
I did the same thing. So
I don't feel so bad. Thank you.
Totally relate with you about that. And I'm going to focus a little bit on the younger children and then talk a little bit about some of the older kids. Because with younger children, obviously they don't have the experience or maybe the language to be able to talk about the emotions that they're feeling. So a lot of times with the littler kids, what we want to do is really watch behaviors and see what's going on for them. I'm a big believer in behavior is communication, and it's, you know, children's ways to let us know. But I think anxiety on those first few days or first couple of weeks are pretty natural, and they're things that we should anticipate and be able to prepare kids for some of those new things that are going to be happening. But with the little people, watch for those behaviors, watch for that, maybe a child who's clinging or having difficulty sleeping in their own bed, things like that that can be going on. Give it a little bit of time to see what's going on, talk to your child, know them, and then play detective, because like I said, little ones are not so good at being able to say, gee, you know, at school today this little boy was really nasty to me, and I think that's the reason I'm feeling a little upset and anxious. Instead, you're going to have somebody who's going to be clinging to mom's leg and try to figure it out.
Well, and with that, we talk about some of the older kids. I mean, I would presume, at least for myself, I know when I got to be a teen, I didn't want to go home and talk about issues I was having at school. So I think the other problem is you almost get somewhere inward, if you will. So how do you kind of draw that out of your kids if they're having anxiety?
I think it's very important to know where they're coming from. So just imagine you have a summer break when you're not doing anything. You are the judge of what you want to do, when you want to get up, when you want to sleep. And then you go back to school. It's normal to not want to do that. It's normal to feel nervous, to make new friends, to prove yourself all over again. Yeah. So it is going to be hard. And if parents understand that, they can deal with it much better. Just to have a parent who understands what I'm going through helps a great deal. So I think that's going to be the best thing to do.
Well, and I know there's so much expected from kids in school too, and no matter if they're just starting, I mean, it's a whole new schedule and, you know, switch. And then also if they're older, I mean, there is a lot of weight on your shoulders, you know, preparing for college or something like that.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I think adolescents, sorry. I mean, in my work at Prairie, we always ask parents to think about their own teenage years, how difficult it was. I mean, you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to prove yourself. It is going to be a difficult phase. And so I think a lot of that plays into, you know, maybe them being irritable sometimes when you don't see why that's happening. So, I mean, mood swings are normal when you are a teenager, and something that parents need to be aware of is that when they see that their kid is not acting like themselves, that should be a red flag. But if it's just his normal personality, but he's just a little moody today, that's part of it.
How important is it to be what I would call preemptive? I know with my wife and I, with our daughter, like if we actually go, hey, Isabella, here's what's going to happen later today, or here's what's going to happen next week, it seems to mitigate a lot of the tension, a lot of the anxiety. So how important is it, and how do you do it?
Absolutely critical. One of the groups that I work with primarily at Prairie are children on the autism spectrum. So those are children that have a lot of difficulty with shifting and transition and things like that. And I say to a lot of parents, the kinds of things that we recommend for those kids are things that work for all children. And for adults, too. If we know what to expect, if we know what's coming up, I encourage parents to go to the school ahead of time if they can meet. The teachers are usually there. And again, big fan of parents meet the teachers and the school principals and the paras and whoever is working with your child so you can build that communication with them. But really help your child walk through it, even in middle school. When you get that schedule, walk through. Try the locker. Do you have trouble with the combination lock?
Point,
Do you need a keyed lock? Where's your counselor? What does she look like? Who can you talk to? Who do you trust? So I think that's an absolutely wonderful idea, is to do that pre-teaching and experience, because when you know what to expect, some of that anxiety is going to go down.
Nothing worse than standing in your locker like, everyone's looking at you. Come on, let's go. So when we come back, we'll talk about how do you be a little more preemptive also with middle school kids right after this.